Alright, coming to you guys again. May my thoughts be conveyed clearly and truthfully. Okay, so we made the first video about police shootings, racist police shootings. So that's the first video. What do we do now? What's the next step? What do we do? What do we do about racism? Nipping it in the bud. As fathers, mothers, grandparents, aunts, uncles, what do we do to get rid of this dirty, disgusting behavior that is plaguing the world today? Now, racism doesn't just exist between black and white. It exists between every race, between all different ways, shapes and forms. It exists. But what do we do now? What's the next step? If we could identify it, okay, we have identified it exists. Now we even went another step further to identify that it exists in our home. Yeah, it exists in our home. What do we do now? Well, I think we take a concerted effort to nip it in the bud in our thoughts, all of our thoughts, our speech, and then our actions. You know, I saw a video of some kids. This particular video at this point in time was of some black kids, maybe the age of from 4 to 6. And they had a black doll and a white doll in front of them, and they asked them, which doll is the ugly doll? All of them said, the black doll. Why is that doll ugly? The answer is crazy, but it says because they were black. Because they're black. This is kids saying this. No, they weren't coaxed or coached to say that. This was their thoughts, right? You say, which is the good doll? The white doll. Why? Because it's white. Which is the pretty doll? The white doll. Why? Because it's white. Basically, that's the general idea. Now, this were black kids that were saying this. Now, I just ask, just imagine, what do you think white kids would say? I think they would say the same thing. Generally, okay? These kids, these kids are going to grow up to be police officers, nurses, doctors, teachers. They're going to grow up to be, the people that we intermix with in society today. So we need to take a concerted effort to nip racism in the bud against Hispanics, against Mexicans, against Armenians, against Turks. I spoke to one guy today. He said in his home they were taught to hate Turks. Obviously he's Armenian. I speak to some people and they said in their home they were taught to hate Muslims. This is taught in the homes. I can't stress enough. It's been taught in the homes. How do we stop it? We have to start from in the homes, where it's taught, where it's passed on, where I think the most important teachings happen at home. At home. My wife and myself, we try our best to teach our kids as much as we could. I'm talking about schoolwork. We try to teach them as much schoolwork as possible at home, because simply we can't depend on the school system to teach them everything they need to know. We're talking about just schoolwork now. We can't even depend on the school system to teach our kids everything they need to know. But listen to this now. Most parents, most people agree with that. They agree with that. So they do extra, much more. They do more than what is expected if they want their child to succeed. Not just succeed a little bit, to succeed to succeed in a great way as much as possible. Everyone wants the absolute best for their children, and they try to provide that with whatever means they have at the time. So the same way we could agree to teach our kids as much as possible in the home and then still send them to school to learn more, we need to teach our kids about inclusion. Inclusion. You know, like I talk about America being a melting pot. It's not a melting pot anymore. The pot has melted. We are together. We can't separate any race out of America. You cannot take any race out of America and expect it to stay the same. You cannot take any race out of America and expect it to stay the same. It's already melted together. If you were able to fuse iron, steel, gold, copper, silver together, it's fused together now. You separate it, you're going to take away from the whole. So for people that think that they want to exterminate Mexicans, you're going to be exterminating a part of yourself. Again, you know who you are. We need to understand that we are where we are. It is what it is. What do you do from here? From this point, what do you do? Whatever you do, you have to ask yourself, is this going to help? Or is this going to hurt? Is this going to bring closer together? Or is it going to further divide, further separate? That's the questions we have to ask ourselves when we talk to our kids, when we laugh and talk to our friends about serious issues. This is the things we need to ask ourselves as people living together amongst everyone. This is America. This is America. All right, that's the message for today. Again, I hope this was able to help one or two people. If it did, please subscribe, and I promise to bring you great content. Namaste.